What's up, Ravens flock? This is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report. Today's video is going to be on the topic of who is an MVP candidate and who is not. Now, I'm going to be coming up with a list for you guys here, and obviously the list is going to be subjective. There's no objective truth to who is an MVP quarterback and who is not. This list will all be quarterbacks because the last skill position player to win an MVP award was Adrian Peterson in 2012. But like I said, this list is subjective. Your opinions are going to be different than mine. Your list is going to look different from mine. There might be somebody that's on your list that's not on mine, and that's okay. So if you guys want, you can go ahead and like, comment your list down below. Subscribe to the channel for more. Without further ado, let's get into this list.
They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year, every year.
So, first disclaimer, this list is broken down into sort of two separate groups. The first is honorable mentions, or the guys that I think are on the cusp of being MVP worthy, but they're lacking one or two things. And that second group is going to be what I consider to be NFL MVP frontrunners, or upper echelon guys that elevate their team and elevate the players around them, and these teams would not look the same at all without them. So those are the two lists, but let's get into the honorable mentions first. First of those honorable mentions is going to be CJ Stroud. So CJ Stroud, other than being a rookie, is playing phenomenal ball. He's playing smart, he's playing fast, he's playing safe football. He's really limited the turnovers this year, and from a rookie, that's excellent. They're 6-4 right now, and a lot of that is because of him. So what's holding him back is basically just that he is a rookie. This team is probably not going to be making the playoffs. AFC is a very difficult conference this year. And even though they are 6-4, there just probably is enough room for them to make it to that 6 or 7 seed. And even if it is, it's probably a one and done for them. But honestly, CJ Stroud has really impressed me this season so far. So next up is Trevor Lawrence, and I really like Trevor Lawrence. I really have become a fan of his game over the last 2 years, and especially after going through what he went through as a rookie and becoming this perennial playoff threat. I think he is an excellent quarterback who is on his way to becoming an elite, consistent quarterback. I just don't know if I would put the ball in his hands in crunch time yet. Lawrence is a good quarterback, but I need to see more of that consistency from him in big moments. Speaking of big moments, Josh Allen has been a very strange specimen this year. The really high completion percentage is not something we're used to if we're Josh Allen fans or we've been watching Josh Allen. The passing yards and the passing touchdowns, yes, we're used to that. The interceptions, we're very used to that. And to be honest, the 7 rushing touchdowns, we're also used to that. So all the good things that Josh Allen has normally been doing, except for the fact that in big moments, he really hasn't been the Josh Allen that he has been over the last 2 years. And if I was basing it on his previous accomplishments, yes, I would trust him with the ball in crunch time. But this year, I don't. I don't trust him to make the smart play. And you're going to hear me mention this phrase a couple times, but he tries to put on the cape, I think, a bit too often, considering the talent that he has around him. Now, we'll see if firing their offensive coordinator helps to kind of jumpstart this offense a little bit. But as of right now, unless things change significantly, Josh Allen is not going to be an MVP frontrunner for me. Next up, Jared Goff. So I'm not just saying this because the Ravens beat the Lions. Jared Goff is a fantastic quarterback who I did not have very high on my list going into this season. I was not a big believer in the Lions. If you watched my NFL ranking video at the start of the season, you'll know that. But 8-2, and your only 2 losses are against 2 other winning teams, you're playing some good football. Now, the numbers are a little underwhelming, and that's kind of why he's not really higher on my list, because this is a good team. And I guess I'll just finish by saying I don't know if the team is good because of him, or if the team is good and he is good on the team as well, if you know what I mean. So this is probably the most controversial or the most difficult one to have off of the top list, and that's Tua, because he's having statistically and performance-wise a phenomenal year, right? I mean, the highest completion percentage currently, almost 3,000 yards passing, and 21 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions, highest passer rating of any quarterback playing right now, I think. And it's just almost every measurable is the highest or at an elite level. So again, why is he not being talked about, in my opinion, as one of the top echelon of MVP candidates? It's sort of like the same conversation as Jared Goff, as Josh Allen, because there are so many good pieces on this team that when I think of the term most valuable player, I think of a team where if you took that player off, that team goes from a Super Bowl contender to basically better luck next year, hope you get a good draft. And so do I think Tua is an MVP? I think he's important to that team. I think it's definitely a downgrade if he's not playing. But they've got so many good weapons and such a good offensive scheme that I don't necessarily think taking him out of that would completely end their playoff hopes. So that's kind of why he's my last honorable mention. Now, getting into the top 3 here, there's no specific order, so whatever I list them in is not necessarily my personal order. It's just, again, how do you rank these guys? They're all, in my opinion, MVP candidates for a variety of reasons. And the first is no surprise to anybody, or shouldn't be, Patrick Mahomes. And I think he also emulates the idea for me behind MVP currently right now is he is the most valuable player. This Chiefs team, the defense is good. The offense is not good. It is not good. This is the worst offense that Patrick Mahomes has had to captain. And he's still winning games. He's still 7-3. And he's still 19 passing touchdowns. The interceptions are a little bit of a concern, but again, he's having to put the cape on more often than I think he has previously. And I mean, it's not surprising when you look at his wide receiver core, when you look at the fact that Kelsey he's not really falling off a cliff, but he's definitely not the presence that he was in the past few years. And it is starting to show, but Patrick Mahomes is still willing this team to victories. And other than the Denver game, there was no game where they were, really out of it. So that's impressive to say the least. All right, so our second MVP candidate for me, at least in this top group here, is Jaylen Herz. And he's another one where all 3 of these guys are, if you take them off their team is not going very far. If they make the playoffs, great. They're not winning at all without these quarterbacks. These quarterbacks are the key to unlocking the highest potential of this team. And Jaylen Herz is no exception. He's not having as blockbuster of a year as he did last year, where he's, running the ball all over the place and he's making guys look silly on defense and carving guys up, but he is still quietly having an extremely good year. And guys like Jaylen Herz and Patrick Mahomes, and the last guy we'll talk about on this list, once they do things so well that the media and the fan base, they get to accept that upper level of skill as the norm. So if you're not producing at an all-time high level all the time for these guys, you're kind of fading a little bit to most of these people. But if you go back and you watch the games, especially the close games, and you look at how they're performing in these tight, difficult moments, that's when you kind of can tell how good they still really are in those moments and why they're still MVP candidates. Last but not least, I had to put him on the list because objectively, Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate. No team is perfect, and even though, yes, there were obviously some games that he would like to have back, the Indianapolis game, the Steelers game, and even the Browns game that we lost by 2 points, that was still a good game that Lamar played pretty well in. Now, obviously the fumbling has been a bit of an issue, but there are moments in each of the other 2 top-tier quarterbacks that I mentioned where they'd like to have those moments back, right? Like, I don't think Denver is a better team than the Chiefs. I don't think the Jets are a better team than the Eagles. And while I'm not trying to give excuses to all 3 of these quarterbacks, I'm simply saying that the NFL schedule, the NFL any given Sunday, that type of thing, that's a legit thing. And if you are a good team, any team is going to give you their best shot. So when you've got teams like Detroit, you've got teams like the Seattle Seahawks, you've got teams like the Bengals, they're going to come into your house and they're going to try to take what's yours. And Lamar Jackson has proven time and time again this season that that's not going to happen. So if he's out there on the field, this team already has a chance to win the game. He's already going to be the best player on the field more times than not, and the odds are pretty much going to go in the Ravens' favor every single time. Now, we do have a tough stretch of games towards the end of the season here, a lot of really good competitive teams that we're going to be going up against, and I look forward to that. I look forward to the challenge that this team will be facing and the proof that they will be putting out there for Lamar being a true MVP candidate. But comment down below who your guys' candidates are. Tell me who you think is an MVP if the season ended today. If there was guys that I missed on the list, go ahead, let me know. Shout out who your guys' lists are. But if you haven't already, go ahead, like the video, comment below, subscribe to the page, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. All right, well, that's it for me tonight. I'll see you guys in the next video. In the meantime, stay safe out there and go Ravens.